Greetings, I'm Cordell Anderson, the Guatemalan Foundation's representative who is taking you winging over Mexico to visit our projects in Guatemala's central highland town of Patzicia. We leave behind Mexico's two tallest volcanoes and then pass over Guatemala's 33. Guatemala is a small country about half the size of Utah with 13 million people, and here we are approaching Guatemala City. Our first activity in the country is a marriage, and we find ourselves here among the country's elite, the women being fixed up, and now we're on our way to the marriage, but we passed by the real Guatemala along the roadway, poor women, and heading home with scrounged firewood. The marriage is of my son Cordell Ammon to Diana, and here you see a few shots of marriage, my daughter Aura and myself. And now we will go on to the inspection tour, heading for Patzicia, driving out of the city, where a city of several million people with about everything you could imagine there, like as though we were in the United States. But we're heading up to the north, west, into the central highland area. Starting at about 4,500 feet in Guatemala City, and here we are along the highway that goes all the way up to Quetzaltenango and then on to Mexico. But here we are approaching Patzicia at 7,000 feet elevation, a mostly Indian town with Cachiquel Indians. An area where we have worked for many years. About 90% of the population of Patzicia are Cachiquel Indians, where traditionally, at least many years ago, there was extreme and violent conflict between the Indian majority and the Ladino minority. Here we are arriving at Humberto's home. He has received help from his sister who lives in Miami to fix up their home a great deal. But you see many aspects of their life follow their traditions, using firewood for cooking, using the patio of their home to dry two or three different kinds of beans. They use mostly traditional methods. Once the beans are dried, and they thrash the black beans out, as they have been doing for, I guess, hundreds and thousands of years. Black beans is one of the staples. The other, of course, being corn. And here you see what remains of their previous harvest of corn. And now it is time to harvest again. So out into the fields they go. Here's Humberto, and he is accompanied by his sister and his aunt and his 88-year-old father, and they all work hard in harvesting the corn and accumulating the dry corn, and then taking it to the patio of their home for further drying. We've seen white, yellow, and black corn. Now we're on our way to visit our project in the Chuluc village, following the highway to Patsun. You see along the roadway many different systems of agriculture, but it's all done by hand. Many of these products actually are imported into the United States, even like broccoli. But here we are approaching the school. The official name is the Ariel and Ines Anderson Chuluc Village School, that we built in 1986 and 87. It was in 83 that my father died, and then in 86 my mother, and $20,000 was raised to build a project in their honor in Guatemala. And so this was the school that was constructed back at that time, and most of my family was there for the inauguration in 87. Including Julie and her son Bronson, who are both in the foundation leadership now. And then here's a visit made by Toby Pingree also to the school later. But there the school is, and all of a sudden they were getting education in good surroundings. But all of a sudden we had a problem with an epidemic among the children, and we do not believe in band-aid solutions. So we went to work to solve the problem once and for all. First, installing electricity in the village, while a 55-meter deep well was being dug by hand and then cemented in, and a submersible pump pumping the water up And the project included flush toilets, the first and only ones in the village, also a new kitchen with facilities where the volunteer mothers could come each day to help prepare the nutritional supplement for the children. So each day the children get a very high protein nutritional drink and something to eat. We also cemented in their patio so they would have a clean environment in which to play. We provide, of course, school supplies for them, and also pay one of the teachers his wage, and also, as I mentioned, provide the nutritional supplement each day. It was vacation season, and so there wasn't a very large group at the school. It was mostly the village leaders and some of their children. Here, Umberto is giving a few remarks, explaining what we're trying to do there to help them achieve a better life. And then they introduced me, and I had an opportunity of reviewing the history of the foundation, its involvement in the Chuluc village. Talked about my father and all the sacrifices that he made in running the foundation, actually organizing the foundation and then running it for 14 years as a volunteer, and also during that time was the main volunteer contributor to the foundation. Um, but I explained how each year my way of honoring my mother and father on Mother's Day and then on Father's Day is to help them have a special celebration for mothers and fathers. Um, and in that way, and that's a donation that I make myself, and that way honor my parents and all the parents at Chuluc. Here the village leader is, and he's explaining that he was at that inauguration in 1987. He was 8-year-old student at the school at the time. Here we go out to visit one of the homes of one of the families, um, a fellow who has, of course, lives from agriculture, as all of the people do here. Here we're in his home compound. He has 10 children. Here you see his wife and some of the daughters are in their kitchen, doing things the way the Indians do in most of Guatemala, with an open fire on the floor in their kitchen. She's explaining that tortillas aren't quite ready yet, and then there's the grandmother that stays with them also, and then we just had just a peek inside the bedroom, and the youngest child was asleep and apparently a little sick at the time. From there, we went on to visit the fellow that for many years was the village leader, and he was at the time of the inauguration of the school, Don Maximo, wonderful fellow, but he's a cripple now, and so we said goodbye to him and to his brother, and then we all got in Humberto's 1985 Toyota pickup truck. This is my daughter Aura, who accompanied us on this little inspection trip. And according to Guatemalan way, they all just there's a few of us squeezed in the cab, and the rest jump in the back of the pickup truck. We've driven the 5 miles back to Patzicia to the foundation school. This school actually started at the time of the '76 earthquake, which killed 23,000 Guatemalans. It destroyed chapels, schools, many homes. At that time, a group of Indians started a school that they called the John Paul II School. When I was introduced to it in 1981, it was a school with a Catholic name, supported by World Vision, a Protestant organization, and run by Mormons. And so I was fascinated by it, and it was on the verge of going under as World Vision was removing its support, and so we took over and started helping the school, and it's been our main project ever since. We constructed their own building and then began using as a base for our teaching the principles of the good life. Back from that time, Umberto, who is not a Mormon but is a Catholic himself, became the director with a staff of Ladino and Indian teachers, and specializing in having no discrimination or prejudice between the racial groups. And so we have provided a quality education. with well over 1,000 graduates over these years. Also literacy classes for the adults and a community improvement project so that they are giving, not just receiving, helping to clean up their area, and out of the graduates there's doctors and lawyers and veterinarians and teachers and policemen, and it's just the most worthwhile thing that we have done in Guatemala. So here we are at the school. Once again, it's vacation season, and so there wasn't really anything going on much. So here you get a glimpse of the murals of the good life that we have there. There were some children there to give us the welcome. Uh, and a few of the volunteers, along with Humberto and one of his teachers. Here you see my daughter Aura looking in the main office, checking out pictures on the wall. There's the Anderson family from years ago, and then there's a lot of trophies. There have been a lot of champions come out of this school, and the new computer laboratory, which is called the CJS Grospec Computer Lab. CJS was a dear friend that for 25 years served as the chairman of the board of trustees of the foundation. Then we were served a lunch. You'll see at the head of the table as Humberto serves Carlos in the red t-shirt. He's a graduate of the school, now a volunteer, but he's studying, and by April of 2012 will become a lawyer himself, one of the success stories of the foundation. So there's Carlos. Then Humberto offered a few words and mentioned that his sister in Miami donates about $2,150 every year to pay the salary of one of the teachers, and so Guatemalans themselves are helping a great deal. In fact, 23% of all of the expenses of the projects in the Patzicia area are covered by Guatemalans themselves. Then I spoke a few words explaining how our vision was to help the people from Patzicia realize their greatest potential, and explaining that one day we will perhaps have not just a mayor and a bishop, like is the case out of Patzicia, but also one day have maybe even national leaders come out of this educational effort. Then with Humberto, I went over their needs for the upcoming school year, which started in January of 2012. And how we could continue to take people out of this kind of an environment, bring them into the school, teach them correct principles, help them be healthier, and to survive better than what they have been able to do over the years. So coming out of this camping environment into a school and educational environment where they could prepare themselves to work more productively and be able to support themselves and provide for their own needs, and help their own people get out of those kind of conditions and prepare to live in our modern world free of discrimination, and have opportunities to achieve the best that they're capable of achieving. So please help us continue aiding them become self-reliant and happy. You can learn more at the Foundation's website, and you can donate online also through the Foundation's website, or you can send your donations to the Guatemalan Foundation, Post Office Box 50 in Springville, Utah.